Not all interview questions are created equal. So, how do you answer a bad interview question well? If you've ever asked yourself that question, I'm glad you're here because we are talking about good answers to bad interview questions. And today we're going to tackle probably the worst one. Tell me, why did you leave your last job? But before we get ahead of ourselves, hi there. My name is Kim. I am a big tech recruiter and career advancement expert. I help professionals like you land higher paying jobs without all the stress or confusion. So if you want to make more money in 2026, give this account a follow because I'm going to help you do it. So I'm going to tell you something. I actually don't ask people why they're leaving their current role because honestly, it's a really bad question. It's a horrible interview question. Unfortunately, people still ask it. And so we have to be prepared with an answer. And the truth is that in 2026, not having a good answer to that question could potentially cost you an opportunity. So, today we are going to talk about what folks are actually wanting to find out when they ask a question like that, the types of responses that will make an interviewer's stomach drop, and how to answer this question in a way that actually works. The reason that people ask questions like that is not because they actually care about, oh, yeah, I didn't like their PTO policy or the commute was too far. They are trying to determine whether you are a flight risk. I know, I've said the quiet part out loud, but that is the truth. Historically, people who moved from job to job year after year were seen as a job hopper. And job hoppers meant if I hire them today, are they going to be here this time next year or are they going to bounce? Unfortunately, in the job climate like we have in 2026, people aren't hopping so much as being laid off. But even before then, in 2020 and 2021, in the tech industry, it was really common for folks to move every 6 months, especially in the Bay Area. So that mindset is not actually a reflection of what happens in the job market today. But people still ask that question because old habits die hard. I don't make the rules. And trust me, I think it's a bad interview question, but people still ask it. So we're going to be prepared for it. So when it's time for you to respond to a question like that, these are the missteps that will inevitably make an interviewer's stomach drop out of their body. Avoid sharing any reason that you are leaving your current employer that would indicate a character flaw in yourself. Any response that shows that you are showing up late, that you don't care about the work, that you are checked out, those are things you do not want to share in the interview, even if the interviewer is very friendly. Folks, as an interviewer, the things that people tell me, I think, do you not realize this is an interview? Why are you telling me this? Being truthful and an overshare are different. Remember, this is a professional setting that we're talking about here. You don't need to brag about how you're not a morning person, so you're not going to make the 9 a.m. stand up. Just be honest and recognize if there's a 9 a.m. stand up, either I set my alarm or this is not the job for me. But you do not need to communicate that that's why you're leaving your other job. The other thing that candidates will do that I don't think they realize that they do is they blame. They blame their old manager. They blame their coworkers. They blame the toxic work environment. And yes, that could be very true. There are some work environments that are not the place that you want to be. And it's good that you want to leave them. You deserve to work somewhere that treats you well. I agree with that. And honestly, if you're interviewing for a job with my team, I am hoping that team is a good match for you. Any recruiter hopes that. But the blaming, even if you are not to blame for those problems, it still does not show you in a positive light. The focus is on the negativity of the other people involved, not the strengths, the values, or the things that you are running towards as a candidate. And this interview is about what you bring to the table. It's like going on a date with someone and talking about your ex. Why are you talking about them? You don't want to talk about them. You dumped them, remember? Interview is where interviewers evaluate whether someone is going to be able to do the job well. And the only evidence that we have to determine that is previous behavior, not just limited to your skills and previous experiences. How you choose to carry yourself, how you choose to reflect on your past experiences, that's a reflection of you today. Those are the things that you want to highlight, not the negative parts of someone else's character. That's a waste of your time. Okay, Kim. So I know why they asked the question, and now I know what not to do. But what do I say, especially if the situation is complicated? Well, let's talk about if you are leaving a toxic situation. First of all, I want to say I'm so sorry that you are currently working in a toxic environment. I'm glad that you're interviewing other places because you deserve to work somewhere great. But like I said before, you want to indicate that you are running towards something, not running from something. So let's say you are currently working on a team where the manager is a micromanager and your teammates hoard all the work so you don't get to even do your fair share of the work, let alone have exposure to projects that are going to allow you to grow in your skill set. You feel stagnant, you feel stuck. You don't want to say that in your actual interview. Instead, you want to indicate qualities in the ideal environment that you're running towards. So you would say, I've learned a lot at such and such company over the last 5 years, but I find myself in a place in my career where I'm really looking to be part of a collaborative team where I can get my hands on some stretch projects that add value to the bottom line of the company. And so when I saw that this position was posted, it seemed like what you all were working on aligned with my goals, and I was excited to learn more. You see, you've said the same thing, but instead of saying, I'm leaving my job because they're bad at that company, I'm saying, I want to leave my job because I think you are good at that at your company. You see, it's the same message, but completely different delivery. But what do you say if you really liked where you worked and leaving wasn't your choice? That's different messaging. If you were recently laid off from a job, first and foremost, I want to tell you that there is no reason to be embarrassed. Layoffs and reductions in force are never an indication of your performance. It's just a business decision that feels so personal. So while it's easy for me to say, don't feel embarrassed, I want to recognize that it's still a hard reality that we as professionals are navigating right now. And so if you were impacted by a reduction in force, truly my heart goes out to you. But I assure you, as an interviewer on the other side of that Zoom call, there is no reason to be embarrassed. That being said, there is a wrong way to answer this question. The first way, and I see this all the time on social media, don't say that you were fired. Do not say that you were fired. Fired implies that you did something wrong. You did something disciplinary. You had performance issues. You were put on a performance plan. That's not what happened. You weren't fired. So use the right terminology. And here are some ways that you can say that. First, you were part of a reduction in force. Company decision to reduce the force, and you were unfortunately impacted. Another way, My position was eliminated. The company reevaluated and realized that they no longer needed my role. And as a result of that, I was let go. The third way is to say that your position was part of the most recent round of layoffs. Layoffs are part of the news. It feels like monthly. So by saying the most recent round of layoffs or a recent round of layoffs, whether you work for a very large and notable company or a local company, they are happening all the time. And so by saying the most recent round of layoffs, it is a reminder statement to the interviewer that this is a normal part of our reality. If you enjoyed your job, which I'm assuming most of you did, it's also nice to say, I so enjoyed working at such and such company, or I really loved my work doing XYZ thing. Unfortunately, my position was impacted in the most recent reduction in force. That's all you need to say. No more context than that is needed. Now, what about a gap in resume for any other reason? Let's say that you took some time off for all sorts of reasons to raise children, care for family members, go back to school. You don't have to give the specifics. If you decided to take 6 months off and travel through Europe, you can just say, I had an opportunity to take some time off. And while I loved that work, the opportunity was too much to give up. And now I'm ready to get back to work. That's all. And if it was something more personal or medical, you are not obligated to share anything medical or anything personal or anything private. Taking time off for a family matter or a personal matter is all you need to share. After making that statement, next thing you want to mention is how you've kept your skills sharp. Maybe you took a couple of online courses, even free ones through LinkedIn, or maybe reference some recent articles or books that you've read in order to keep yourself up to date on the newest changes within the work you were doing. Just because you took some time away doesn't mean that you took time off. There's a difference. So here's a framework to use that works almost every single time. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you are running towards something, not running from something. Second, be honest without being unfiltered. There is a difference between authenticity and oversharing. Third, connect your answers to the specifics of the opportunity. While you were taking time away, you brushed up on this skill set and that skill set. And fourth, keep it brief, especially if you took time off for something personal or something you don't want to share. It's actually not something that the interviewer needs to know because it's not relevant to the job. So keep it brief, express interest in this new opportunity, and move on. So remember, in your next interview, if someone is asking you a question about why you want to leave your current job, remember the interviewer is actually asking you one thing. Can we count on you to show up consistently? Are you going to be a good teammate? Can we trust you to be here and to care and to be a good part of our team? That's what they really want to know. And that's what you need to answer without directly saying it. Be sure to give this video a save and revisit it before your next interview and share it with someone who's currently interviewing that you think that this might help them out. Happy job hunting. Bye-bye.